Terms of service accepted. Congratulations on falling asleep.
Do you like Portal or the Stanley Parable? Maybe even a little bit of anxiety? Because if that's the case, then oh boy, do I have the right game for you. A few months ago, I saw a 1-minute Switch teaser for a game with really trippy perspective puzzles, but knowing it was going to release on the Nintendo Switch, and therefore be inconvenient to play, visually downgraded and probably overpriced, I didn't bother much. A few months after its Nintendo Switch release, I found it again on Steam, and that game was called Superliminal. I kind of expected that this game was going to be on the shorter side, so I waited for a Steam sale, and sure enough one came around soon. Turns out I was right. I was able to play through this game in one sitting. That's both a compliment and a criticism, because on one hand it's a very gripping game, on the other it's way too short for the price tag, and I hate it when that happens, even if it's a good game. But whatever, I'll get to the price tag later. So what is Superliminal? Well, the opening cinematic says it all. You're in a private mental health clinic, trying some experimental dream therapy technology called Somnosculpt. So right from the get-go, the game is a bit off. Not only does the fact that the main character presumably suffers from anxiety and self-doubt immediately give the game a bitter undertone and build up dark expectations, but the namesake doctor of the institute and inventor of the Somnosculpt device, Dr. Glenn Pierce, also sounds like a fraud. Think of homeopathy or something. But sure enough, you awaken in your dreams staring at a wall. You turn around and see the terms of service of Somnosculpt therapy. Kind of strange that you're only signing them now, but maybe that's just part of the dream shenanigans. You turn around again and oh, there's a door now. You make your way through a hallway and find a sort of playroom with some chess pieces and a note proclaiming the motto of the game. Perception is reality. You pick up a pawn and after finding out that it's, well, just a pawn, drop it, realizing it changed size according to your perception of it. You mess around with it some more, step outside of the playroom, see a giant tower piece and immediately know what to do, thereby passing the first test of the game. A female text-to-speech AI confirms that you signed the terms of service correctly, and what follows are a bunch of Portal-esque test chambers featuring more perspective puzzles. But after a while, you notice that the test chambers have started to deteriorate. Boarded off hallways leading to dead ends outside the test chamber, shattered glass, missing wall panels, and eventually an unsolvable puzzle. Looking around in the chamber, you realize the walls aren't aligned properly. Using a glorious piece of cheese, you make your escape behind the scenes to see that the test chambers are apparently only set dressing in a studio, only for you to fall into the darkness and back to your room. Like an absolute idiot. From that point onwards, you live through another dream, only to find holes in the set dressing once again. The doctor leaves you messages through a tape player, however they're hardly comforting because all they do is acknowledge that you're lost indeed. Reality starts to crack even more here and there, but nothing that wouldn't be plausible in a dream. Once you get to the third dream, however, that's when it gets real spicy. The tape messages from the doctor get increasingly nonsensical, and you walk straight into a power outage. You walk through some cold storage rooms, find trails of blood, have doors closing behind or right in front of you as you check. But as the dream goes on, you start to see through the illusions. Boxes saying die, die, die really just said die at soda. The ominous figure staring at you through the window is really just a well-placed pawn on a ladder. And once you turn on the IDEA backup generator, you see that all the trails of blood were just red paint from repainting the cafeteria. Cafeteria?
Cafeteria.
On a side note, I tried to jump out of the window in this room, because the game goes out of its way to show them to you, and there are interactable cans you can reach in the kitchen. And while you can see that even the outside world behind the windows is just set dressing, it won't let you jump out. I kind of expected to be able to do that after the Stanley Parable, but sadly the entire game is a lot more linear than I thought it would be after breaking out of a dream for the first time. There is a hidden section in the cafeteria though. You can jump over the storage shelves to find a blueprint. I found 2 of these and you can scribble on them. They seem to be some sort of collectible that carries across playthroughs. I'm assuming they're just for an achievement though, as are a lot of interactable items in the game, like the cans of soda that I made sure to take with me whenever I could. Anyway, you finish the dream and get to the next one. I feel like I should mention at this point that the dreams aren't taking place across multiple nights, but rather that they're the dream phases of a single night. The alarm clock in your room advances by an hour every time you quote-unquote wake up. I think it's kind of smart that all the dreams take place in a single night, because that's how actual dreams work, and it becomes an interesting plot point later on. In the fourth dream, the female AI voice that has been guiding you this entire time becomes increasingly passive-aggressive towards the doctor, to the point of interfering his attempts to counsel you and mocking his messages. This is kind of a fun part though, and I want to talk about it more. Earlier in the video, I mentioned how the doctor is set up to sound like a fraud, and the fourth dream really plays into this, because while the creepy AI is clearly the antagonist, her mockery has a point. The doctor's introductions at the beginning of every message are redundant and do sound self-important.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce. Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce. Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce. Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce.
Most of his motivational quotes do sound like empty feel-good phrases with nothing to back them up.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and I'd like to read you my favorite inspirational quote by me. The worst thing you can do is focus on negativity. It won't spare you from the cage of death, the pain of disease, the cruelty of time, the cold shell of human nature, or the eventual loss of everything you've ever held dear. Whatever you do, don't focus on that.
You even find pamphlets emphasizing how the doctor is clueless. Now, the last one is kind of a subconscious thing because it's a pamphlet within a dream. However, it just reaffirms the player's opinion of the doctor. But that part of the game kind of stuck out to me. Now, the entire game's premise kind of spoke to me to begin with. While I have no history with therapy, I know more than enough people who do, so the distraught sentiment that therapists and their staff can be clueless phonies is one that I've heard before. In that way, the game serves as a quite funny satire of therapists throwing around $5 words while charging people exorbitant amounts of money for essentially nothing. But at the same time, I felt kind of uneasy laughing along, because I do believe therapy can help people. And I know wonderful people that I hold dear that I can still spend my time with because they had the chance to get help. Which is why the twist of Superliminal is great. At the beginning of the fifth dream, the doctor's messages start reaching you again, and become increasingly more helpful and on topic compared to the nonsense messages he left in prior dreams. Meanwhile, the AI starts taking over and forces you to do dream puzzles indefinitely, assuming you must have oriented yourself incorrectly and therefore broken the protocol, which she doesn't accept as a possibility because the Somnoscope technology has no flaws. As you break out of the dreams even harder, eventually causing a dream paradox and going to the alone dimension from SpongeBob, the doctor starts talking about the importance of perspective, the difficulties of finding new perspective despite one's emotional scars and baggage, and eventually reveals that all of the trouble and stressful experience that you faced in your dreams were part of the plan to give you a new outlook on the world. Now, let's slow down a bit. Of course, this game is a puzzle game at the end of the day, so the jump from solving puzzles to overcoming anxiety is more of a fictional one to justify the events of the game. But maybe the game still has some merit. Especially the fact that the dream therapy intentionally puts you into stressful situations at least twice is kind of interesting. If you were to look at it from a realistic standpoint, simulating stress through dreams could be a kind of exposure therapy. Coincidentally, therapists in real life have started using virtual reality as a tool to treat post-traumatic stress disorders and other conditions as part of exposure therapy. The game even acknowledges this at one point, I think, because when the AI relays the content of one of the doctor's messages to you, she says that
VR has never been a mistake.
While this could just be lol random humor and I don't know anything about the developer, I like to think that this was intentional and that the developers had an interest in the subject matter and didn't just choose dream therapy because they couldn't come up with a better backstory to explain the surreal nature of the game, when really they wouldn't have had to explain any of it, and that would probably have made it even more surreal. As for the puzzles, they're pretty interesting the first time around, and each one is rewarding once you figure it out. But as the game goes on, I feel like they become kind of secondary. Some puzzles essentially repeat, and a lot of solutions are reused, but they're still fun. The game just doesn't do as much with the puzzles as I would have wanted it to. More would have been possible, but it's fine, I guess. Or at least it would have been fine if the price tag wasn't what it is. Listen, I like to support indie developers and their work by buying their games. Sometimes I'm even a bit disappointed when indie devs make their games free, simply because they're sacrificing so much of their time just to entertain others. But I'll be honest, about $17 for a less than 2-hour game is a scam. I can get behind $10 for short experience games, because that's about the amount of money you'd pay for a movie ticket. But $17? For that money I could go see a movie that's longer than that in a cinema with snacks, buy 2 to 3 DVDs, or just games that have a way better return on investment for their money. As of me writing the script, the game is on a sale for about $12, which is still hefty, but at least a more reasonable price to pay. I'd say buying it as long as it's on sale, or waiting if it goes on better sales in the future. I hate to deny indie devs their paycheck, but I simply don't feel like it's worth full price. All in all though, I think Superliminal is a game worth playing for fans of puzzle games and walking sims. Is it a masterpiece or a game of the year? No, but a solid game that may has more to say than it seems. To showcase my ratings, I'm going to blatantly copy the tier system from a certain someone's reviews, ranging on a scale of S to D tier, or smash hits to dumpster fires. And Superliminal goes into the great category. That's it for today, and I hope to see you next time when we take a look at the Cult Investigation Simulator, Cave Story, or Gregor's Severe Hangover.